Thank you, Jed, and thank you to the TUC for inviting me to speak today, and to everybody who's been involved in making Congress possible at all this year. Clearly not the easiest of circumstances. I remember this time last year addressing a packed conference hall in Brighton. This time last week, I thought I would be with you with an audience of about 30. By Wednesday, that had gone down to 6. And yesterday, when I was told to self-isolate because one of our families got possible symptoms, it's just me speaking to you from my home. But whatever the circumstances, Congress, our movement will always stand together. And I think the contributions we've just heard from the last few speakers absolutely demonstrate that. And I sincerely hope that this time next year, we will be back together again in that packed conference hall discussing the issues of the moment in the usual way. Can I start my address, my first address as Labour leader, by thanking the trade union movement, the TUC and all of our unions for everything that you've done during this pandemic over the last few months. As ever, when it came to protecting millions of jobs and when it came to keeping people safe at work, it was the trade union movement that stood up. Without you, there would not have been a furlough scheme. That's where the idea came from. There would have been no life raft for 7 million people. And let's face it, if it had been just down to the government, it would have been a case of sink or swim. Trade unions have always been the unsung heroes of our national story. And through this crisis, you've helped write another proud chapter. And I want to say this, our party was born out of the trade unions. We are one family, one movement. And under my leadership, we will always stay that way. One family, one movement. For me, this is part personal. My mum was a nurse. My dad was a tool maker. I didn't know what an office looked like until I left for university. For me, work meant the factory floor or the hospital ward. And care wasn't an abstract concept, a policy conundrum to be debated. It was the real life, round-the-clock support that my mum received from the NHS when she became too ill to work. Those values have stayed with me: opportunity, fairness, and compassion, and they will define my leadership. But Congress, the task ahead of us is huge. The general election result last December was devastating. Devastating not just for the Labour Party and the trade union movement, but devastating for the millions of working people who desperately need a Labour government. I'm incredibly proud of the courage and heroism of the British people in dealing with and standing up to this pandemic. But time and time again, the government has let working people down. Britain shouldn't have had one of the highest death rates in the world, one of the deepest recessions. We shouldn't leave our workers without protective equipment on the front line. We shouldn't have failed the most vulnerable in our care homes. And people shouldn't have to traipse halfway around the country in search of a COVID test when they're sick. Yesterday, my family were able to get a test quickly when we needed one, but only because my wife works in the NHS in a hospital that provides tests for staff and their families. For thousands of people across the country, it's a very different story. And after 6 months of this pandemic, that's completely unacceptable. And whatever Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock might say, it's not the British people that are to blame for these mistakes. It isn't the civil servants. It isn't care home workers or a mutant algorithm. It's the government. It's the government that's holding Britain back, and we should never let them forget that. At the very least, the Prime Minister should have spent the summer getting the basics right. A testing system that works, an effective track and trace system. We don't need world beating, we need effective. A plan to protect care homes this winter, and an exam system that parents and young people can trust. The Prime Minister's failed on every count. And as infection rates rise and our testing system collapses, what are his priorities these last 2 weeks? Reopening old wounds on Brexit, trashing Britain's reputation abroad, and making it harder for us to get the trade deal we all want. So my message to the Prime Minister is simple. Get your priorities right, get on with defeating this virus, and get the Brexit deal you promised. Congress, this crisis has exposed, obviously, the total incompetence of this government. But it's also exposed something much deeper. The ingrained injustices and inequalities we see all around us. Austerity was always a political choice, a bulldozer to the foundations of society, and it left us woefully unprepared for this crisis. We're a great country. We're the 6th richest country in the world. But our economy is one where the workers we applaud are overworked, underpaid, and undervalued, where many, especially the self-employed, lack basic rights and security at work, and where millions of people are one missed pay packet away from hardship, and too many people are unable to save for their future and for their retirement. Congress, we have got to change this. After all the sacrifice and loss, we cannot go back to business as usual or defend the status quo. Paddy Lillis made that powerful point just a few moments ago. We cannot go back to business as usual, not back to the status quo. We can't go back to a society where over half of our care workers earn less than the living wage, a society where we pay tribute to a generation that saved us during the Second World War, but now we can't protect them in our care homes, a country where we don't invest in our public services for a decade and now expect our frontline workers to protect us. We need to capture the bravery, the sacrifice, and solidarity we've seen from the British people. In that, we can see a vision of a better future. And I want to work with you every step of the way to build it. And we can start that work today by setting out what the government must do now to protect millions of jobs. Because we're on the precipice of a return to Thatcher-era unemployment. We know only too well the scarring effect mass unemployment will have on our communities, our families across the country. We cannot let that happen again. And we can't let the Tories use this as an excuse, this crisis as an excuse to weaken workers' rights or hold back planned rises in the living wage or embark on a fresh round of austerity. Of course, we all know the furlough scheme can't go on as it is forever. We've never suggested that. But the truth is, the virus is still with us. Infections are rising. Lockdowns are increasing. And for some sectors of the economy, retail, aviation, hospitality, and there are others, for millions of workers and for towns and cities under restrictions, it just isn't possible to get back to work or reopen businesses. That isn't a choice. It's the cold reality of this crisis. So it makes no sense at all for the government to pull support away now in one fell swoop. But with a bit of imagination, and if we act in the national interest, a better approach is possible. That's why today I'm calling on the government to work with us to create new targeted support that can replace the job retention scheme, to develop through this a scheme for those sectors that most need it. This needs to be done through urgent talks with the trade unions, with businesses, and with the Labour Party, so we can deliver direct support and training to those that need it and prevent mass unemployment. That will be a life raft while we're still in choppy waters. We will approach this constructively and look at the different options that are being put forward, whether that's the TUC's job protection and upskilling plan that's being put forward, the CBI's short-time working scheme, or the German Kurzarbeit scheme, or similar schemes in France or Denmark. The principles are clear. Expand part-time working and reward employers who keep people on rather than cutting jobs. Provide training and support for those who can't come back to full-time work. Target those sectors most in need, for example, retail, hospitality, aviation, all those hit by local lockdowns, and provide certainty for workers and for businesses. At this moment of national crisis, we should take inspiration from our past, be willing to put party differences aside and work together in the interest of the country. Imagine how powerful it would be if we could form a genuine national plan to protect jobs, create new ones, and invest in skills and training. So I'm making an open offer to the Prime Minister. Work with us to keep millions of people in work. Work with the trade unions. Work with businesses. Do everything possible to protect jobs and deliver for working people. My door is open. And Congress, there's something more the government must do. Outlaw fire and rehire tactics. We've seen this happening already in the private and public sector, where thousands of workers have been issued redundancy notices and offered new contracts on worse pay and worse conditions. In disputes such as BA and British Gas, we've seen the importance of strong trade unions in defending working people. Congress, fire and rehire tactics are wrong. They're against British values, they punish good employers and hit working people hard, and they harm our economy. After a decade of pay restraint, that's the last thing working people need. And in the middle of a deep recession, it's the last thing our economy needs. So I'm calling on the government to act now. Introduce legislation to end fire and rehire and give working people the security that they need and deserve. If you do that, you will have our full support. Congress, the months ahead are going to be rocky. At the helm, we've got the most incompetent government I can remember. And we face the perfect storm of the biggest economic, health and social challenge for a generation. Labour and the trade union movement need to stand together like never before to show the British people we've got their back and their future too. We'll fight to protect jobs, incomes and working conditions at this time of national crisis, and to show that there is a better, fairer society to come. That's our mission, and I will work with you over the coming years to deliver it. Thank you.